the combined contributions to the English language between me and this man right here is like, yo, man, y'all still talking about Shakespeare William? Like, y'all niggas bugging, man.
I think it's a consideration for the craft. The people who can rap and who sort of take the historical aspects of this thing that we do seriously, but still make it something of their own. I feel like those brothers are few. I mean, with those artists are few and far between. So if I cross paths, if I'm at the same intersection as one of those like-minded individuals, I always make sure I reach out. You know what I mean? Whether it's to just say, yo, keep going. You know what I mean? Or I support what you're doing, or like that shit was busting, whatever. So yeah, I feel like that's how we sort of forged this relationship. Nah, man, it's everything. I think it's the range. My process is non-linear in a comparable way. So yeah, I think that's something that you latch on, being able to see oneself in another artist.
I mean, at first I was like skeptical, you know what I'm saying? Because, people talk.
Word.
People just be talking. Like at first I didn't even believe it was him reaching out to me.
Word.
Like, to tell you the truth, you know what I mean? There's no shame in it. I thought it was some catfish.
Like when people ask me, I tell them, I'm like, yo, dude was mad elusive, yo. Like, I was on his heels for a couple years. Like,
I was like, there's no way this is Black Thought.
Like, yo,
nah, straight up.
My man,
fuck that.
Still trying to work.
But I ain't gonna lie, cause I've had niggas hit me with fake RZA email. Cause there's no way that RZA would do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or maybe he would, but I don't think it was RZA. That's one example. I could give you 10 others. But, people out here, the internet is strange.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, there's people booking me for shows. People been booking me for 5 years going back. But like, what shows I'm doing? I haven't done any shows. So, it's a precarious, situation. It's like
it was a vetting process.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He like, yo, is this the real Thought?
Word. He was like, yo, guy, if this really you know what I'm saying? Meet me on this mountain.
Kinda, sorta.
Yeah. Word.
Facts, you know what I mean?
I mean, it's not often that I care to, you know what I'm saying? It's like, usually if I reach out to somebody, whether you believe it or not, like the love, like I showed the love, you know what I mean? I showed the love. You like, yo, like this ain't you. It's like, all right, cool, you know what I mean? But yeah, if it's somebody, you know what I mean, as far as I'm, compelled to work with in that way, then yeah, I mean, there's really no shame in the game, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm glad you made that investment, because look what we got now.
Yeah. I mean, one could be from the school of wait around for things to happen, or, you could just be more proactive. So me, especially in recent years, I just been more proactive with the music, and I only make music that I want. Like I make music for myself at this point. You know what I mean?
That's what I be saying. Yep.
So yeah, just like in order to continue to push the needle forward, sometimes you gotta go out and get it.
Yeah, bro. I made this song like a decade ago. You know what I'm saying? And at the time, I was going through some stuff, but which is self-evident in the record itself. It got a vibe to it. Now you could tell, like, it sound different. It sound like it's a different Mach. You know what I'm saying? If you really pay attention. But I had that record, and I just knew, like, when I finished making the record, it was so ill. I was like, yo, the inner voice is like Black Thought, And then obviously, the rational mind is like, fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? And then we found a middle ground, and I put it away. Cause it's just like, yo, that's never gonna happen. Don't be like that. All right, put it away. Whatever. Like 10 years later, I got Black Thought in my phone talking about some, where's the record? Where's the record?
Right.
When we gonna cook? Where's the record? You bullshitting. You bullshitting.
Right,
Where the record?
Right.
And I was like, yo, one day I sat down, I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Hold up. I got a record. Yo, what about that one record? You know what I mean? Yeah. You hear that inner voice, and then you go, now I started looking. Thank God for, the people that made that hard drive. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna make no commercial for you, but all I had to do was plug it in one time, and it was cracking. I mean, this is like ancient history. This shit like 20 pounds.
I think that speaks to, just the timeless nature of, classical hip hop, right? If you look at us as classical artists in the same way that you look at, Bach and Beethoven as classical musicians, like, in this space, we're classically trained, right? And that's sort of the tier that we on. But I think like the true test of an artist, like for me, is if you're gonna be able to create something or ideate on something today that is gonna be just as impactful 10 years from now, 20 years from now. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I tell cats even when we working. You know, sometimes I collab with somebody, and if it's my project, there's no telling when it's gonna come out. You know what I mean? There's no telling when everything's gonna be in alignment for this to be presented. But you know, you have to write and record as if it's a time capsule, and you're gonna be cool with this representing you as an artist sort of forever. You know what I mean? Sometimes I send cats verses back and all that shit, cause it's like it ain't come, like you don't believe it enough. You know what I'm saying? Word. So you know, when you find somebody that's on that same type time, it's gonna best serve the culture for y'all to collab. So I think that we probably gonna continue to build.
Oh yeah, we building. Yeah, I got a folder for you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, I think it's a matter of propriety. I've observed this thing for long enough, and without being a player, and now being a part of it, being mindful of some of the more cautionary tales, you know what I'm saying, as far as what I've seen. And I don't know, I think that just somewhere inside of me, it just like, you know, I just add that to my upbringing and everything like that. And I'm just using my intuition and my social skills to know when and when not to speak, you know what I mean? But I don't think it's that deep, you know what I mean? It's literally like home training, a mixture of home training and street smarts.
I think in my case, in the case of the Roots, Malik B, you know what I'm saying? Rest in power, Malik B. And myself, you know, all the MCs who have been associated with the Roots brand, I think we've all always been a lot more street than the Roots brand. You know what I mean? And I think the brand that we built is something that was, you know, intentionally so. So I've never felt, you know, super comfortable sort of taking over, dominating the Roots narrative, right? With just like my story. And I've always felt like my life story, you know, it's heavy. Like, you know what I mean? Like to some people, it's the sort of shit that, you know, it's heavy. At this point, I feel like it's tragedy to triumph, but you know, when you in it, right? So because of that, I've never felt that, you know, the Roots, within the Roots brand, under the Roots umbrella, was as safe a space to be as transparent and as vulnerable, you know, as one would need to be to really tell their life story in the right way. I've just been intentional about that in recent years, both in my music and just across every other medium. You know what I mean? So everything that I do, if I'm teaching in front of a class or if I'm, you know, doing something on the Tonight Show, I mean, anything that I do, I'm trying to inject that, you know, idea of overcoming the me that once was, right? And sort of just getting over that hump and just being more of an open book. You know what I mean? I would run into folks sometimes like, yo, I've been listening to your music for 20 years, man. Almost on the tip of like, you owe me. I've been supporting y'all shit for this long. But he's like, yo, I feel like I knew nothing about you. Like, how is that the case?
Excellent.
And I'm like, yo, how have I, you know, managed to just toe the line, be that ambiguous? Like, it's, you know, there's value in that. There's much owed to that ambiguity, right? And the Roots has been able to say we're all things to all people just because we were never really definitive about so many different things. But yeah, as a person and as an artist, as a man, you know what I'm saying, as somebody who's 50 years old, like where else is there to go if you want to continue to make art? You know what I mean? If you have never opened up until this point. So that just opened up a whole frontier of, it's like a reinvention for me. It just feels fresh and new.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in save something for later.
Yeah.
Type shit. I mean, I just felt like it was a natural progression. Like I was more focused and more concerned with creating and establishing a body of work and some sort of rapport as a creative. I've given this analogy before, but it's akin to like building like a mega structure. Like first you start digging this hole and some people might mistake you for digging a grave. And they're like, oh, look at this silly nigga. Like, you know what I mean? What is he doing? He's an idiot. Then they start to see the trucks coming in, the cement trucks backing down the road.
Foundation.
And they pouring that concrete in. Then the shit ain't funny no more, right? Because then now the rebar start coming in. Then we start doing that. Then we get the steel beams and it's no longer a joke, right? So I think at this point right now, we've gotten to the point to where we got the structure up, the electricians just left. Now it's like we open for, you know, we accepting lease applications type shit. Cause like we open for business. So I understand how it looks, you know, from the outside looking in, but that's the price you pay for excellence, yo. Like you know what I mean? You have to be in the dark, you know what I mean? As an observer, as a consumer, like Coca-Cola gonna give you the fucking secret ingredient because you like it so much? Or are you gonna have to wait for the thing to get bottled and then you get that? And that's your experience. Yeah. You know, my experience is making it. You know, you don't get to make it. Yeah, you missed out on all the low-hanging fruits, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
literally.
You miss out on, benefiting from anything that is sort of trending. It's a different wave every week that people, are making money off of, and people doing deals and able to, realize their dreams off of. And, a lot of that shit is something that just comes and goes. And if you're focused more on like a long game, then yeah, all that stuff, those aren't the opportunities that are gonna present themselves to you. So I mean, it's a bit of a sacrifice, but it depends on your perspective. Sacrifice now, it gets greater later.
It's hard to hold though, but after a while, it just becomes second nature. I mean, every once in a while, you get a tinge of FOMO, but like I said, like I've been training, it's like, I don't know, it's almost Vulcan at this point. Like, I don't really respond to it because I'm already on this set path. Having so much vision and foresight for oneself too helps a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you consistently envisioning and building, rebuilding, and making sure like your runway is clear and your departure, your terminus is very clear to you. It may not be clear to everyone around you, but if you stay the course, you'll be fine. And that's what I've been doing. I've been choosing to stay the course over everything else. I feel like it's more important.
I've definitely felt that way. I felt as though there's so much that I want to say about so many other things. I feel like it took years for me to really understand the value in my story and how, like that's the power, you know what I'm saying? Yes, for a long time, I think, I would separate myself from, I would, tell stories in second and third person. Speaking for the city of Philadelphia, speaking for, the community, speaking for the culture. But yeah, it's just still, being super vague. It's just been a bit of a balancing act in that way, as far as any details.
Yeah. Life like a double negative.
Right.
Philly criminal, I rhyme about the dirt Tariq already did.
Yeah, I mean.
There's a place where quality can meet quantity, and you can have those things maximized and have a high quality experience over a very wide audience and, as far as numbers. But for me, I don't really want to focus. I approach it very differently. I'm approaching it from the perspective of access. To me is like there's two levels. You got ownership and then you got just like participation. For me, it's like if you want to own something, that is an entirely different level of engagement from, just being a lessee or whatever you call it, and you just like basically streaming or catching it when it comes on the radio. So you don't really have any agency or any authority to make it happen for yourself, right? And that's what you're paying for. You're paying the premium for that, right? For that level of accessibility. I want to own this thing that is very hard to get, no one else has it, and it makes me happy. But then there's the other thing, and I feel like there's nothing really wrong with either one. It just depends on how comfortable you are with the material. If you want to partake in ownership, I feel like that's a whole nother conversation, especially if I'm making sure that, I'm maintaining the scarcity, you know what I'm saying? At potentially at maybe to my own detriment, depending on how you define success, not me, right? Because some people might be like, yo, nigga, you could have sold 1,000 more or whatever, but what does it really mean to me though? Not much, but that's a decision I've made. I can't say that I don't see the value in wanting to sell more records as far as quantity, but it just doesn't really I don't know, man. I'm kind of like, I've decided already.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like I made it this far, or at some point I had made it so far without being concerned about, record sales, or with record sales or how many records the Roots was selling being one of our last concerns, that it was too far to turn back and start, you couldn't adopt a new model. You know what I mean? I felt like that would be unwise. We in the tortoise and the hare sort of dynamic. The Roots has always been the tortoise. Man, there's a lot of hair.
Slow and steady
Woo.
Wins the race. Yeah. Like literally.
I guess I sort of picked the wrong industry, because it is an industry, to not care about selling records. And you talk about to one's detriment. Yeah, I think, almost to my detriment too. Definitely as a young person. And and definitely in the 90s and some of the early aughts, so many models have been, turned over on their heads at this point. That like the way that we used to do it and the way that we had to do it, it's a bunch of different ways to do that shit now. You know what I mean? So you could take one tape, you could sit here with 5 tapes that you recorded you know what I mean, during the same period of time, elevate one to, you know, a certain level of high art where, you know what I mean, this is where you envisioned it, right? This is the value that you envisioned for this thing. This is you envisioned receiving this art. And then, you know, you could create this other piece for a whole different, you know what I'm saying, demo. So now more than ever, like, it's safe for all those different things and all those different ideas to sort of coexist.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you know, let's not forget about all of those who came before us and everything they endured as far as like so-called black musicians are concerned. And furthermore, black musicians in the diaspora, in the Caribbean, Haiti, Jamaica, Trinidad, going from there to like what's going on in the inner city, Newark, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, Harlem, Los Angeles, Houston, Atlanta, and all of this history informs me in a certain way. And then I take this history and I step into the space as an actor, right? Or as someone who wants to pursue a particular end, right? With whatever means I have. You know, I have my culture, my history, and my mind with me. Not much money, you know what I mean? And just like knowing like, well, the hardest thing for me was pricing it, because I knew it was priceless just because of whatever I've been given, you know, and I've been given like something to preserve. I've been given something to preserve, and over time I realized like I've been given something to conserve. And with that being said, I know that it's not as infinite as it may seem, right? That the word is infinite, but my time is short, okay? So, you know, I still feel like I have trouble with where I land sometimes, because I don't think I'm trying to approximate beams of light traveling at speeds unknown into like a dollar amount. I don't understand like what to do on some real shit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just doing my best. You know, there's a little fucking, it's like a little sharp pain every time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I fucking publish something for mass consumption. I feel mad ill, son. But you know, it's just some shit you gotta go through, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my version of pre-game jitters, if we was to draw the analogy of like a high performance athlete, you know what I mean? Because what we do is very athletic, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So in that sense, it's like, you know, we're not about to disrespect our free agency by staying with this team and it won't even give us what we need type shit, you know what I'm saying? And we're not happy here. And we're not happy and we're not getting paid. You know, you decide for yourself and then you cross your fingers, you know, you hope you don't lose all your friends, and then you do what you gotta do.
Yeah, so be it.
I write and I don't write, but I'm not reading off the paper. But sometimes you're in a situation where it's like, I wrote it down and I don't fucking know it. But that hasn't happened in a long time. You know, for me, it's like, I've had every stage. I've had a stage where like, you know, I refused to actually physically write. But I was under some sort of common spell, right? Which I was just like being, you know, being pulled down the drain of like, this is what you gotta do to be top tier. You know, but at the end of the day, it's like, that's not necessarily true. I've done it every possible way by now, at least thrice over. And so I'm here to report that one is not really preferable to the other. It's literally about what makes you more comfortable as a speaker. Some people say like, well, if you write and the mechanics of writing, like there's something in the mechanics of just having a pen and a paper and physically writing. What I will say this is like, fuck the vocal performance, the thoughts are different. They're very different. You know what I'm saying? From dealing with, you know, the digital apparatus versus like, you know, like a fucking stylus and a fucking papyrus, whatever, fuck, inkwell, whatever. Yeah, that's real different.
Yeah, my process, I write, you know. Sometimes, you know, I've written so many snippets, so many pieces of sort of content, all these little sort of clips of fabric that exist that I'm able to stitch together at any point in time without, you know, referring to where I wrote it or picking up the phone or whatever, but it's something that's written and been committed to memory that just exists at my disposal. And those are lyrics that, you know, usually become, all right, word, did you see this freestyle, that freestyle? 9 times out of 10, I like for it to sort of just live there, to create a one-of-one experience. I've never been huge on, though I've done it, I've never been that dude who everything that I say dope has to go on the album. Every freestyle becomes a 16. Again, I've done it, you know what I'm saying? There's been joints that I spat that I came off the top and then went back and listened and wrote that shit down.
And pulled something out,
you know what I mean? But my process is more receiving information, is more reading than writing. Like my writing process is more reading and listening for that spark, for that word, for that term, for like this one sort of thing that is going to initiate a domino effect where everything just opens itself. Like anything I write eventually is written itself.
Facts.
You just gotta be patient, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember shit from like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Just because type shit.
Same, man. I remember shit other people said 20 years ago that I could say
type shit
back to them and they like, who you get that from? You know
I know, I remember, yeah.
One of the things that I like to apply, to my process, I would like to give less of a fuck, you know what I mean, about the structure of things, right? About, how many bars a thing is and what key the shit is in. And my musical training wasn't formal, right? My training in the art, like I went to school for art forever. And then I started, cutting my art classes to sit in on official music classes. So I feel like that sort of classically trained musician that exists within me doesn't necessarily hold me back, but it just serves me in a different way as a lyricist. Like I wish it was more the Wild West. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I don't give a fuck type shit.
take me. I don't give a fuck. Yeah.
And then part of me be like wanting to be like, damn, should I give a fuck? You know what I'm saying? When I look at Tariq, when I look at Thought, you know what I'm saying? I like, should I give a fuck today? Nah. You know what I'm saying? But it'll creep in.
I'm gonna leave that to my man.
It'll creep in though. You know what I'm saying? Cause it's like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, good people make you reconsider your own decisions, nigga.
Yeah, it's true. Grace, you know what I mean? And I mean that whole do unto others, like that's some real shit. It's really how you move. Certain people move like they want to be around for a long time.
Well said.
Yeah. But like people that I've seen, fall to the wayside, and people that I've seen sort of self-combust, people who, never did people in the best way. You never did right by the people you're supposed to do right by. It goes back to what he was saying, but just about good people. You know what I mean? It's a long list of hundreds of people, artists after artists that, I'm thankful to have received, sort of taken their influence and their information and been able to move, as my own person with. I feel the same way about, people ask me, is there anybody that left for me to work with? Like, who else would you want to work with? Like, who's your dream sort of collab? It's just as hard to answer that question. The Roots been around since 1987. I've done a lot of shit. I rapped a lot of raps, worked with a lot of people, and, presented myself as, just as a jazz musician, spoken word artist, rock, whatever you need. So I sort of,
need. Yeah.
I've been there and done that.
Longevity though, yeah, that's the key. Like, I'll be like asking him like, yo, how does your energy bar keep going up while everything around you turns to shit?
It's something that has to take place within yourself. You gotta keep that, keep that fire within going. I don't rob myself of any sort of self-care, any, ritual, routine. Like the more stressful the situation I find myself about to approach, or the more daunting the challenge. If I got something that I know I'm not gonna feel like doing this morning I might do yoga, acupuncture, and a colonic.
Come on.
Before I go to work. Then I'm good, you know what I mean? Like the rest of the day, like I'm unstoppable. I definitely think, stuff like, meditation, breath work, if you're able to steal a couple moments and devote that to yourself, then you be just better prepared to navigate the bullshit too,
Self-love.
Yeah, self-love is important. I feel like real hip hop is reflecting it, you know what I'm saying? And always has. Like,
always.
That's always been my agenda. There's social, political commentary. Like I said, it might not have been in first person, but I was always speaking for the people and speaking to the people about, like the real shit. And I feel like I've been blessed in that I've never really had to bite my tongue. I've never had to change my lyrics, or, they never thought it was iffy to have me on Sesame Street, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just really thankful to have been able to occupy the space that I do.
First thing that comes to mind is like, I don't know, this might be 20 years old or some shit. Rough late nights, police use their flashlights to bust brake lights, aim away to buck the gauge right in broad daylight. State trooper blast on black church vans from Newark to Buddha Gray Izzy. The whole city is looking like old Trizay. That's some baby Mach shit. Like, it's just what it is. Like, it's always gonna be like that.
Yeah.
It seems like a specific response to a new stimulus. I put something in the system and it had a reaction. Why that reaction occurred, we could philosophize all day as to, like, who stands to benefit from suppression of what and when and why. But the reality is I put some in my piece of work and my contribution, I don't know, it behaved like a monkey wrench or something. I shook some shit up and I did something I wasn't supposed to do. Like, the shit was charting. It's charting, and all of a sudden subscribers disappear, streams disappear, streams get frozen. Like, I'm still to this day trying to figure out how like the single still got like basically the same amount of spins. It don't even make no sense, you know what I'm saying, when you go look in the back end. But nobody has an explanation for you. Everybody's explanation is that it's the AI, it's the AI, it's the AI. But we already know that the shit is not, it's nowhere near where people think it is. Machine learning, someone has to constantly update that shit. There is an overwhelming human presence within this AI superstructure that everybody believes is like in the fucking Jetsons, you know? Daughter Judy, like what the fuck, nigga? Like, it ain't, y'all niggas on cartoon time, like it ain't that. There's someone still controlling all that. People are still constantly reconfiguring this shit day by day. I would tell you to speak with them and ask them why the large language models don't consider certain ethnicities and certain patterns of speech. To me, you know, so-called black English and vernacular is way more ill than just basic, you know what I'm saying? Like, we've, you know, the combined contributions to the English language between me and this man right here is like, yo, man, like, y'all still talking about Shakespeare William? Like, y'all niggas bugging, man. Like, it's cool. I understand the value in that, but like, there has to be, the conversation has to progress. At one point or the other, we got to be able to make, like, you know, maybe even some footnotes, okay? Maybe I don't get a chapter, but give me an asterisk. You know what I'm saying?